So now you have like this company and you have this app called Heroic Minds. When did you make that transition? Like when you realized, so you were part of the team for another 2 years. Like, could you go through like, how do you realize that Heroic Minds, this message of love is something you want to spread and something you want to do?
Back to my story then, to get to where Heroic Minds is now, so I spent 2 years away from playing the game. But again, remember, I was with 2 years of being with the team in that incredibly powerful environment. And then what happened was, after those 2 years, I was actually given the opportunity to play again, which was incredible. I was lucky enough to be a leader in my final year. And then all at the same time, I started to, I don't even really know how to word it. I had a philosophical understanding, but also a rational understanding of the continued risk to play. I don't know if it was going to foster the best reward. And that's from a couple different points of view. One is, philosophically, I realized, okay, it's going to be a little bit of Groundhog Day for me personally if I keep doing this every year, start again, same season, 82 games, so on and so forth. I don't know if I still love the game enough to do that. I did as a kid. It was very much the same thing every year, start again, super exciting. But I think at that point, I thought, I think I'm interested in finding out what else I love and what else makes me feel the way hockey does. And then on the more rational side was, I played with players that had 100 points multiple years in a row, and they didn't even make it to the NHL. And let's just say I did not have that many points and I was not as good as those players. So I thought, what are the chances then, right? What should I keep continuing to risk other opportunities in life for this one finite idea? That's ultimately where I decided to move on. I wasn't ready or prepared. I didn't have a plan in place, but I just jumped into life outside of hockey, and it was the most exhilarating experience and continues to be the most exhilarating experience ever. I know people don't like when I say this, people that love me, but I feel like I'm making up for lost time, right? Because I pushed aside academia and school. I did it well enough to keep my mom happy, which was get generally good marks that will help create opportunities in the future. But I didn't put the love into it that I did hockey and other things. And now I'm doing exactly that, and it feels so good to be able to have academic conversations at a certain depth that I otherwise would never have been able to. So I step away. I dive into psychology. 2 years ago, I started my master's in counseling psychology. I'm absolutely loving that. I started the Heroic Minds podcast to uncover stories of incredible people that have been through different types of adversity and challenge. Every single person has a story. It's just, you have to ask the right questions. Hearing these, over 100 stories of people that had been through different types of adversity, challenge, amputation, disease, being a minority, just so many different topics of different challenges. And then how these individuals navigated through that and have been able to lead really powerful lives regardless of who it is. William James, Sigmund Freud, Carl Jung, Carl Rogers, all these geniuses say the same thing. There's a beneficial spiritual side to us as human beings. There are values that are guiding our behavior more than our thought and rationalization alone, right? That are orienting our life, giving our life context. There are some finite ideas that lead to fulfilling lives, connection, love, purpose, impact, etc. But we don't talk about it. When it comes to everyday life, we don't really have these conversations. And so what I'm trying to bring in to everyday use is these reflections that I just talked about. So I don't care what approach you take, CBT, whatever, list goes on. I've named them a few times. What if we put that practice into people's hands as often as possible, up to the individual, because we know the positive effects that are going to occur, regardless of what approach that individual chooses, right? It's up to them. It decreases the barriers of compliance. You don't have to schedule anything. The stigma's gone. You're on your phone. There's no stigma. And, going to therapy, there's a bit of stigma to it. You don't want to tell people, et cetera. The list goes on of the stigmas that we know exist in behavioral health. Well, now it's in the palm of your hand. What I'm hypothesizing or suggesting is, we don't know what it's like for someone to have this in the palm of their hand and have these reflections. We have the data on what happens when people do it in a formal setting, but we don't have the data to see, what if we had people do this once a day, a couple days a week, whatever it may be. And so, yeah, that's exactly what I'm trying to do. And there's the two main parts to it is the psychological reflections. There's tons of value still in CBT and DBT. Is it the answer to everything? No, but there's that side, the psychological reflection, but then also the philosophical, ethical reflection that I discussed earlier is, what are the values that are guiding your behavior? What are the values that are guiding your life? Is it success, money, that never-ending hole that you can never fulfill, that leads you to be in a stressed out state constantly? Or is it a life where your sole identity, purpose, etc., is revolving around making life better for other people? Because that is it. If you can get to a point where that is the purpose of your life, well then, damn, every moment of your life you can live fully. Every moment of your life should be invigorating, because the ability to make life better for others, the ability to aspire to be your best self for other people is attainable in every life moment.
Right, but my question is, like, this is a very ambitious goal. How does the app accomplish this? Like, could you give us like just a basic rundown of the process and like your business model? How does that all work?
So we see a shift right now where there's a lot of accusation and complaining that Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, etc., are shaping, I don't know if this is the right verbiage, but shaping the values of people today, which is reinforcing our desire to have what other people have that we don't have. I think that's a default. Instagram and Twitter didn't create this issue. We are as animals, a behavioral function is we desire what other people have. It is what it is. I think what has happened, this is my own belief, and people can challenge it for sure and disagree, is that Twitter and Instagram, whatever else, TikTok, have reinforced that reaction that we already naturally have as human beings. Go back 100 years, we never had 6 hours a day of seeing what other people have and what I don't. Right? Because the average millennial spends 4 to 6 hours a day on their phone looking at that. So that's fascinating. Like, that can't be great if we keep reinforcing that. So what if of those 5 to 6 hours a day in the palm of your hand, you put even 10 minutes, 20 minutes into your psychological and philosophical exercises, nurturing of some sort, not only to be okay, but to be a better performer, right? Because I think one of the mistakes we've made is we've separated performance from behavioral health, from mental health. So now when you hear mental health, well, mental health is coupled as schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, and anxiety or depression that you may be experiencing because you went through a breakup or some type of challenge in life. So of course there's always going to be stigma because it's coupled under, it covers such a wide range. And the bottom line is people don't like to admit that they're vulnerable. It's unfortunate, but it's a behavioral reaction. It's a trait we have. So we know the stigma's there. We know there's benefits to these reflections. We know values are guiding our behaviors. And what if we put those philosophical and psychological reflections in front of people in a digestible, accessible manner? Stories of Harry Potter, diving into 5-minute, 10-minute summaries of Quidditch in Harry Potter and how heroism is baked into Quidditch. We talk about Hermione and her heroic traits in the movie. Professor Snape, even how he's a hero in the movie. It's messages of, I don't know if you've heard of the new movie Music by Sia, wrote a new music, and her love for music in the movie, it's such a heroic story. So what if we put those stories in front of people and had them reflect on that to shape their lives around this idea of, wait a second, we can have everything we need and more in life without 1 million followers on Instagram, without even having Instagram. We can live in a way that we live fulfilling lives, invigorating lives, because of what we value. So that's part of it. That's not the whole Heroic Minds package, but that's the main piece of it.